Hello, today I'll be talking about this game, Doom, the board game. I believe this came out in 2016, and that's probably about the time I uh, acquired it. I think I've played it 4 times, so not a whole lot of time since 2016. But I figured I'd go ahead and do a how to set up and play on this. So let's get started with how to set up. So the first thing you have to decide when you're playing is there's an operations guide that's got 2 operations in it. Operations are kind of like campaigns, and each operation is composed of up to 6 missions. So this is a one versus many game, so one person will play the invaders, the other players will play marines. Depending on the number of players, they'll each play a marine. So if you play an entire operation that's made up of 6 missions, and the winner of the operation is whichever side first wins 4 missions, or if neither side wins 4 missions, then whoever wins the last mission. I've never played through a whole operation. That would take an entire day, I think. So the other way you can play it is just to play one-off missions. And it does suggest for new players to play the first mission in the operations guide. So that's what I'm going to show. So I'm going to set up that mission, and we'll just show how to play that mission. But once you know that, you can continue to play through a whole operation if you wish. So when you look at a mission in the operation guide, it'll down here tell you which map tiles you need. And the tiles, they show on them here. They have a A and B side, so this one says you need 2 10As. So example, here's a 10A tile. So you get all the tiles that are shown here at the bottom of the mission you're going to do, and then assemble them as shown in the image, and place the appropriate tokens that it shows on the map. So I'll get that done, and we'll talk about what all the different tokens are. So as you can see here, I've got the map assembled, and then for instance it shows an objective token with a portal token. This is a portal token. It's got a face up and face down side. You can see the darker side is the face down, so it's saying to put an objective token on top of a face down portal token and place it up here in this top corner. And it's like this is a health pack token. So I'll take a health pack token and place it here on the map as shown here. So I'm going to go ahead and set out all the different, well, this is a teleport token. Teleport tokens have an active and an inactive side. You can see this says to place an inactive right there. So I'll do that. And for example, this is a weapon that can be picked up, so you find the appropriate weapons token and place where it shows. So I'll place that here as shown. So I'm going to go ahead off camera and set up the rest of the thing. I just wanted to show what they are: portals, objectives, weapons, health packs, etc. So as you can see, I've placed all the tokens as shown for the first operation, the first mission in Operation 1. One thing I didn't show is these depictions here are doors. So you'll take a door, put it on a base, and then place it on the map where that's shown, like here and here. So that would be here. And then I need to also place a door here and here. So let me get those done and I'll come back. Alright, so I've got the doors placed as shown on the map. And then I'll just go over a few features on the map. These dotted red lines are impassable terrain, and those do not block line of sight, but most figures cannot move through an impassable terrain. A solid red line is blocking terrain. Most figures cannot move through blocking terrain, and they also block line of sight. thick black lines like these at the edge of tiles or walls. Those you cannot walk through those, and they also block line of sight. And then you'll see like these dotted blue lines here. Moving across those is difficult terrain, and it costs an extra movement to move across one of those lines into any difficult terrain spot. And that also does not block line of sight. And we'll talk more about line of sight, and I didn't mention cover, but some of those also allow cover and not cover. But we'll talk more about that when we get into rules of play. But I have got the map set up now. Next, you'll look at this section of the mission you're playing, and it'll tell you which objective and which threat cards you need. So these are the objective cards. It said we need sample collection, which is this one here. So you'll put that in the play area, read it aloud. It kind of tells you the win conditions for the Marines. They have to gain all the objective tokens. For the invader, they gain 6 frag tokens. We'll talk about those later. And then it gives some other information. After the invader summons demons from a portal with an objective token, he assigns that token to one of those demons. That demon is a priority target and cannot be glory killed. Again, we'll talk more about what those are when we get into how to play. And it also says when a figure with an objective token is fragged, which means killed, place the token in its space. So in other words, it gets dropped where it is, and then a Marine may pick that up by moving into that space. And at the end of the round, you can place 1 Argent token on a demon card corresponding to each priority target. So again, those are all some things we'll talk more about as we get into how to play. But you take out your objective card, which basically says, how to win the game for each side. Then you find the indicated threat card. It said infestation, so that's the one we'll need there. And again, you'll read that out loud to everybody. This one has some more setup information. The invader summons from each face-up portal token. And it gives some information what happens when a Marine opens a door. Each portal token that the Marine can trace a continuous path of adjacent spaces to is not separated from the Marine by blocking terrain, walls, or doors. Is flipped face up, then the invader summons. So we'll talk more about that when that happens. But anyway, you get the the objective and threat cards that the mission says, and read those out loud to all the players and place them somewhere near the map. Next, you decide which player is going to be the Marine, or which player is going to be the invader, and then all other players will be Marines. I'm going to set up for a 3-player game, so 1 player playing the invader and 2 player playing the Marines. So I'll take Alpha and Bravo. Charlie and Delta can just go back to the box. So those players will take their Marine card. They'll take their Marine figure. Now, these don't come painted. I painted these figures many years ago. So anyway, all the figures in this game do not come painted, so I'm just mentioning that because I did paint mine some time ago. You'll then take this action deck, and each Marine will take a set of cards that have the UAC Marine icon on the bottom. So you'll take a 1, 2, 3, and 4. So they're all the same, so each player will take an identical set of those cards. So I've done that here for these 2 players. Then there's 2 ways you can proceed from here. You can take these class cards and shuffle them up and deal 2 to each Marine. Then they choose 1 to keep, which will be their class, and return the other to the box. Or you can go with one of the standard loadouts. At the back of the operations guide, which gives you a class for depending on what fire team you decide to go with. Again, you can do the standard, which is deal 2 class cards and the players choose, or you can pick one of these standard fire team loadouts, and they game suggests for your first game you go with the Claymore Fire Team. So I'm going to give Alpha the Close Combat class and Bravo the Squad Captain class. So once you've got your class card, you just place it here on your Marine card, and it gives you a little special ability like this one. While attacking a figure within 2 spaces, you may change 1 die to any face. And for Bravo, it gives him +1 to his hand size, which is standard of 3, so his hand size will be 4. And then when a Marine activates, you may discard 1 or more cards from your hand to choose 1 Marine. The chosen Marine gains movement points equal to the number of cards. So, alright, so again, you can shuffle the class deck, deal 2 to each Marine, have them choose 1, or you can go with one of the pre-built fire teams, which gives you the class. Next, if player playing with fewer than 4 Marines, which I am, I'm only going to be playing with 2 Marines, you'll take this squad card deck, and depending on the number of Marines, they'll each get a squad card. So when you're playing with 2 Marines, the rules say that both Marines take a combat veteran squad card. So we'll give one of those to each of the players, and that gives them another special ability. It adds 1 to their hand size, 2 to their health, and during their activation, which is their turn, you can perform 2 main actions, which normally you only get to perform 1 if you do not perform a sprint action. And we'll talk more about that later, but basically, since we have fewer Marines, we get a little assistance with these squad cards. So next, the Marine players will choose 2 starting weapons from among these starting weapon tokens. A Marine cannot choose 2 of the same starting weapons. The difference between the starting weapon tokens and the non-starting weapon tokens, like the ones on the map, have these stripes on them, whereas the starting weapons don't. So you can let the players choose their 2 starting weapons, or you can look at the back of the operations guide, and it gives you a standard issue loadout of which starting weapons you may want to use. So I'm just going to go with the standard issue. So we'll give Alpha these 2 and Bravo these 2. So once you've chosen your 2 starting weapons, you'll go back to the action deck, and you'll find the 3 cards that correspond to each of those weapons. And you determine the cards by matching the image of the weapon token you took along with the bottom right of the card, of the weapons cards in the action deck. So you get card 1, 2, and 3 that matches this weapon for Alpha, which is the super shotgun, and then the combat shotgun. You can see the image matches this weapon token, and you get cards 1, 2, and 3 for that. For Bravo, we got the burst rifle, 3 cards, and the plasma rifle, and again you can see 3 cards. So then each Marine takes those 6 cards for his 2 weapons, along with the 4 UAC Marine cards that all the Marines get an identical set. Shuffle those up, and that will form their deck. So each Marine will be starting with an action deck of 10 cards. You then have the Invader take the Invasion deck, shuffle that, deal 2 to himself. He looks at both and chooses 1. And these cards tell the Invader, what demons he'll have available to him. So you can do that, as I said, shuffle the deck, deal 2 to the Invader, and he chooses 1 of the 2. Or you can go with the mission suggested invasion card, which is shown in the operations guide for the mission that you're playing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with invasion card Imp Assault. So the Invader will take that and put that in his play area. Then he'll take the demon deck and find the demon cards for every type of demon on the card. So we'll need Imp, Cacodemon, Revenant, and Baron of Hell demon cards. Alright, so we got all of those. The invader puts those face down in his play area. All other demon cards can just go back in the box since they are not that type of demon that he'll be able to summon. The invader will then choose the cards that make up his event deck. You can see that the event cards, which have this back, are made up of several different sets. We've got Power Overwhelming, Armored Offensive, Seek and Destroy, Blood Rush, Savage Strength, Infernal Sorcery. Each of these sets contains 6 cards. So the invader player will choose 3 of these sets to make up his event deck. Or you can go with the mission suggested event cards, which is what we will do. So Power Overwhelming, Seek and Destroy, and Armored Offensive. So you gather those 18 cards, shuffle them up, and that forms the invader's event deck. Next you'll take your Glory Kill deck, shuffle that up, and just place it somewhere near where the Marine players can reach and draw from it. Next you just create a supply of all the various tokens, dice, initiative cards, figures. You really only need to get out figures that'll be used. The type of demon cards you got, you'll need to get those figures out of the box and put them nearby. There's a lot of figures. Anyway, so you just get your supply of tokens and figures and everything and place them near the board. The Marine players then place their figure on or adjacent to an active teleporter on the map. At the beginning of this mission, there's only one active teleporter. So we'll have Alpha place his figure here, and we'll have Bravo place his figure here. The Marines will draw their starting hand of cards, which is normally 3. But you'll see with this combat veteran, he gets +1. Alpha gets +1 to his hand size, so he'll draw his starting hand of 4. And Bravo has +1 to his hand size for his squad captain class card, and +1 to his hand size for his combat veteran card, squad card. So he will have a hand size of 5, so he'll draw those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that should complete setup. And now we'll move on with how to play. Alright, we have one more step to do to complete setup. Our threat card here says during setup the invader summons from each face-up portal token. We have 2 face-up portal tokens on the map. All these are face down. So the invader will summon from these 2 portals. So we'll show how summoning works. So you'll choose a face-up portal token, then you look at your invasion card and look at the section that corresponds to the color of the portal you're summoning from. So we're summoning from this blue one. So you can choose either of these 2 options. You can summon 3 imps, or you can summon 2 imps and get 2 Argent tokens and place them on the Imp Demon card. And the Argent tokens let you do bonus actions that we'll see on the Demon card. So we'll do that one just so we can show that. So alright, so we're going to spawn 2 imps here where this blue portal is. So when you spawn, you either have to spawn on the same space where the portal token is or adjacent to it. So we'll put one where that portal token is, one where this is, and then we remove the portal token. Alright, because we spawned imps, and I'll just give you a look at an imp. Alright, because we spawned imps, we'll turn their demon card face up, because now they're on the map. And we get to get 2 Argent tokens place them on their demon card, and then they can be used when those are activated. And you can see you can spend an Argent token to perform an attack and add 2 range and 1 red die to the attack. We'll talk more about how this activation, how the card works when we do activation, but we just wanted to complete this portion of setup here. So we do have one other token, this face-up yellow token here, where the objective is. So we need to spawn, we need to choose from our yellow area, so we can do 2 imps and 2 cacodemons, 2 Argent tokens, or 2 imps and 1 revenant and 1 Argent token. I'm going to do the 2 imps, 1 revenant, and 1 Argent token. So you start from the top down, so we'll do two more imps, and I'm going to put them adjacent to the portal token, and then I'll spawn the revenant where the portal token is, and then the portal token will go away. And remember, on the objective card it said after the invader summons demons from a portal with an objective token, which there was one here, he assigns that token to one of those demons. That demon is a priority target and cannot be glory killed. So I'm going to make this revenant, I'm going to have him be the one that's holding this objective token, so I'll just put that near his base there, so we know he's the one carrying that. I'm just going to put it underneath of him. And I'll knock that imp all over the place. Alright, so we'll need to turn up our revenant demon card as well, and then we also got an Argent token, so we could put that either on the imp demon card or the revenant. Well, since the imp's already got 2, I'm going to put that on the revenant's demon card. Alright, and that will complete setup for this mission. So now we can move on to how to play. Alright, so how do we play? Well, the first thing, the game is played in rounds, and each round consists of a status phase and an activation phase. The first thing you'll do in the status phase is prepare the initiative deck. So you take the initiative deck here, you take 1 invader card for each demon type that's on the map. So we have 2 types of demons on the map. We have imps and revenants, so we'll take 2 invader cards. And then you take the card for each marine that is on the map. So we've got Alpha and Bravo. And I said for each marine that's on the map, but it's each marine that's playing, because if a marine is fragged, he's temporarily off the map. But you would still take a marine card for him if he's off the map during the status phase, because he will be able to come back in when his initiative card is drawn. So after you've drawn, 1 invader card for each demon type on the map and 1 marine card for each marine in play, you'll then shuffle up that initiative deck and place it face down somewhere in the play area. Next thing that would happen in the status phase is you would ready any exhausted demon cards. We don't have any exhausted demon cards yet because this is the first round of the game, so no demons have activated previously, so nothing to do with that part of the status phase at this time. Next, the invader player will draw 6 event cards into his hand. The invader player can then look at those cards, and he can choose to keep all of them, or he can discard up to 3 of them, and for each one he discards, he can put an Argent token on a demon card or onto the invasion card. And if you put one on the invasion card, then the next time you summon, you can take those Argent tokens that were already on there and place them on demon cards that you summoned. So just as an example, we'll say that the invader player decides he's going to discard these 2 cards from his hand to take 2 Argent tokens, and he'll put 1 on the Revenant, and he'll put 1 on the Invader card, or the Invasion card. Then he'll keep these 4 cards in his hand, and they have powers that he'll be able to play at points, depending on what they say. Like if we look at this one, play this card after a demon performs an attack targeting a non-adjacent figure. Roll 1 red die. Each figure adjacent to the defender suffers 1 damage for each of that symbol rolled. So they all have different abilities and tell you when they can be played. At that point, that ends the status phase, and then we move to the activation phase. So at that point, we reveal the first initiative card, and that's Alpha. So if it's a Marine, then that Marine gets his turn to activate and take his turn. If it was Invader, then the Demon player would choose and activate one of his face-up Demon cards. So in this case, it's Alpha, so the Alpha player would get to take his turn. So let's talk about what happens on a Marine's activation. Alright, when a Marine activates, if his class card is exhausted, some class cards, not the ones we happen to have for this mission that we got, but some class cards that a Marine will get will say that they have to exhaust to use it, to use whatever the ability is, so that means they would have to turn it sideways. So when a Marine activates, if their class card is exhausted from their previous activation, then they would then turn it back up so it's available to use again for this activation. Then they can look at their hand of cards, and they can play a card, or they can do one main action. A main action is something that has this symbol, so they could play this card for its main action, and they can do any number of bonus actions, and bonus actions are cards that have this symbol. So one main action and any number of bonus actions. So see, here's another bonus action card. You'll also notice on the Marine card there is a main action of Sprint, which you can read that. It says discard 1 card from your hand to gain 6 movement points. So that would be your main action if you did that instead of doing a main action from one of your cards. And then I will just point out, because we are playing with only 2 Marines, we got the Combat Veteran Squad cards, which is what you get if you're only playing with 2 Marines in a mission. And that actually, besides increasing your hand size and increasing your health, during your activation you can perform 2 main actions if you do not perform the sprint action. So during this mission, our Marines will usually be able to perform 2 main actions, but normally if you don't have this squad card, which if you're playing with more than 2 Marines you probably wouldn't, so normally you can only perform 1 main action and any number of bonus actions. So let's look at the difference in these 2 cards that have a main action in Alpha's hand. So this one just lets him perform an attack, and this main action, he gets to perform an attack, and he can perform this attack 1 additional time. And it has another thing: after you perform each of these attacks, you may roll 1 red die and choose 1 figure adjacent to the defender. That figure suffers 1 damage for each hit rolled. So this one allows no movement, it's just an attack. You'll see it has a range of 3. So if this is Alpha, you count range like in most games, number of spaces, including the target space. So from him, 1, 2, 3, that's as far as he could shoot. So he would not be able to shoot at one of these imps with that particular main action. And so this shows the range, and this shows the dice that you roll: 1 red and 2 black. And we'll just look at the dice. The red has 1 blank side, a couple of single sides, and a couple of double hit sides, whereas the black's a little better. It's got no blanks, several double hits, and even a triple hit side. So each hit that you roll can do, that much damage to the target. But he would probably not want to play that card for his main action because, as we said, the imps, closest imps, are out of range. Whereas if he played this card for its main action, it gives him something that's range, an attack that's a range 4, roll 1 red and 1 black, but you'll also see it gives him a 4 speed, which is movement. So he can move up to 4 spaces, and he can do that before the attack, after the attack, or move a portion of that 4 speed before the attack, then make his attack, and then move the other 2. So you don't have to use the movement only before you attack or only after. You can split it up or do it either way. And when you move, you can move in any direction, diagonal, forward, backward, as long as you don't, as I said, the dotted, that's impossible, so you could not, or impassable, so you couldn't move through that line. But he could move, 1, 2, 3, make an attack, and then maybe move back 1 because he had a speed of 4. Or he could just move 1, 2, 3, 4, and then make his attack at that point, rolling 1 red and 1 black die. So a little more about movement. As I said, you can move diagonal for 1 movement point. You can move through another figure. You just can't end your movement with another figure. It doesn't cost anything extra to move through a space of a friendly figure, but if you wanted to move through an enemy figure, it costs 1 extra movement point. So if this guy started with 4 movement, he could go 1, 2. Well, he couldn't do that. He could go 1, 2, 3, 4 because it costs an extra movement point to move through a space with an enemy figure. If you are adjacent to a door, you can spend 1 movement point to open the door. If you're the Marines now, sometimes the mission will say that the demon, the invader player, cannot open doors. For instance, for this mission, we have the infestation card, and it says demons cannot open doors if there are any portals on the map. So in this one, usually only the Marines can open the doors. Again, it does cost 1 of your movement points that you gain from whichever main action, or sometimes you can get movement points from bonus action as well, like this one, reposition, gives you 3 speed. So you could play this one, for its main action, get 4 speed and an attack, and then you could play this one again, because remember, you can play normally one main action and then any number of bonus actions, so then you could play that one and then move 3 more spaces. And movement for the demons, small figure demons are the same. Cost them 1 movement point to move to an adjacent space. They can move through friendly figures with no additional cost, and it costs them 1 extra movement point to move through a space with an enemy figure. Now, large enemy figures are a little different. Large figures take up more than 1 space on the map, like the Baron of Hell here. He takes up 2 spaces, but you've got even larger figures like this one, and even larger figures like this one. So large figures cannot move diagonal, they can only move orthogonal, so like that. They can turn 90 degrees as long as half the spaces that their base occupied before are still occupied. Large figures do not spend an extra movement point when moving through enemy figures, and large figures in fact can end their movement where small figures are, and in that case, like if this Baron of Hell wanted to move here where this Alpha is, then he would move there, and then the small figure is displaced to the nearest space that he can occupy from where he was. Also, I mentioned earlier when I was talking about these tiles, these solid lines are blocking terrain, so the small figures cannot move through or into a thing with blocking terrain, or cannot move through impassable terrain, but large figures ignore that. They can move through blocking terrain or impassable terrain or blocking terrain, and they can move through difficult terrain without spending an extra movement point like small figures have to. Now they still cannot move through walls or doors just like a small figure. So we've talked about movement. Now let's talk a little bit about attacking. So we said maybe this player would play this card for his main action, which gives him a speed 4 and an attack with a range of 4. So maybe he wants to move here. He just wants to move 2, and then he's got a range of 4. This imp is only 3 spaces away, so that's within his range. And then it shows what die he's going to roll, a red and a black. So he gets a red and a black, rolls it, and he gets 3 hits. So this guy's the attacker, this guy's the defender. Once the dice are rolled, the defender then gets to reveal their defense. Now, when the demons are defending, they reveal the top card of the event deck and look here and see how many shields there are. So he blocks one of those hits. So instead of getting 2 hits or 3 hits, only 2 hits are applied. Now, when a demon attacks a Marine and they roll dice similarly, when we can see their attack here, like the imp, when they're activated, they get a speed of 4, and then they have an attack with a range of 4, and it's 2 red dice. And then they have this ability, after you perform an attack, gain 2 additional movement points in addition to the 4 they got from the speed. But I'm just saying, when they attack, it's the same. They roll dice just like the Marines. But when the Marines defend, they just flip the top card of their action deck and see how many shields. This one would provide 3 shields, so it would block 3 damage that were rolled. And you may have some cards in your hand, like if this card we just talked about was actually in his hand and not at the top of his deck, then when he's defending, he could play this as a reaction. We hadn't talked about that. We had talked about main action and bonus action, but you also may have a card that is a reaction that has this symbol, and that tells you when you can play it. For instance, this one, while defending, you may play this card to add 2 to your defense. So you would still draw a card to see what defense you have, then you could play this to add 2 additional more, and then it allows you to draw another action card into your hand. So this one's pretty good even if you have it in your hand or if it is in the top of your deck like it was here. And the demons may have some event cards that they can play while attacking or while defending, and those come into play at that time. Though a demon player can't play 2 of the same event cards. If they had 2 cards that were the same that said while defending, they could only play 1 of those. They could not play both of the same exact card, even though they may have 2 identical cards in their hand. And while we defending, we showed you get to reveal a card and look at the defense. So one of the things that can be there are shields, which will block a number of damage done. Another thing that might be there is this symbol. And if you get that symbol, you look at the bottom of the demon card who's defending and see what that symbol does. So in this case, it gives them a 1 dodge. When you reveal a dodge symbol, that means all the hits miss, so you wouldn't take any damage from that attack. So if this had come up while this Revenant, well, he gets a dodge also. Some of them have something different. But you could also just get a dodge symbol up here in the right hand corner, in which case the attack just misses. And the Marines may have a dodge symbol in their hand of cards as well. Any damage that is not avoided, though, you will then take damage tokens. You got values 1 or value 3s. For Marines, when they take damage, you just put it on their Marine card. Normally, the Marines can take 10 up to 10. Then once they take 10, then they are fragged. Of course, because these guys have the combat veteran squad card, they get 2 more health, so they're not fragged until they take their 12th damage. The demons, you have to look at their card and see their health. So the imps have a health of 3, whereas the Revenant has a health of 8. Now you see this number in red underneath. That is their stagger value. So 6 for the Revenant, 1 for the imp. If a demon ever has damage equal or greater than its stagger value, for instance, if the imp ever has at least 1 damage on them, then if a Marine moves into their space, but remember, it costs an extra movement point for a Marine to move into the space with a staggered, or with any enemy figure. But if an enemy figure is staggered and a Marine moves into their space, then they are glory killed. So they're instantly killed. So if this guy had 1 damage, because their stagger value is 1, if he had 1 damage on him and the Marine moved into his space, spending 2 movement points, then he would be immediately glory killed. And when you do a glory kill on a demon, the Marine gets to draw 1 glory kill card and put it in their play area, and that gives them, every time you get one, you get to recover 2 damage. So if you had damage, you get to recover 2 of it. And then it gives you some special ability, like this one gives you a bonus action. You can discard this card to draw 2 action cards into your hand. So each glory card gives you some special ability and lets you recover 2 damage. Now you'll remember that the objective for this mission said that demons that have an objective token, for instance this Revenant, that demon is a priority target and cannot be glory killed. So even if he had a number of damage, 6 damage on him, he could not be glory killed by a Marine moving into his space, even if he was staggered, because that's what the objective for this mission says. Alright, I want to talk a little bit more about attacking. I mentioned you have to be in the range that your action or your demon card says that the defender has to be within the range that you can shoot, but we haven't really talked about line of sight. So the line of sight rules for this game is you can choose any corner from the attacker's square, and as long as from that corner he can draw a line to one of the corners in the defender square and it does not cross a blocking terrain or a wall, then then he has line of sight. And figures do not block line of sight. So for instance, if he chose if if Alpha chose to was here and chose to attack this, he could draw a line from here to here, so he's got line of sight. However, and remember also that the dotted line blocks is impassable. It blocks movement, but not line of sight. But there's also cover. So once you choose a corner that you're tracing your line of sight from, to see if the defender has cover, you have to trace a line to every box, to every corner of the defender's box, and if it then passes through any figure or an impassable terrain or a blocking terrain, then he has cover. And what cover does is when you draw your card for defense, if you have cover, you then have the option to draw a second card for defense if you don't like the first one you got. But then you got to take the second one. So in that case, if there was a figure here, he has line of sight, but when he draws his line of sight to this corner here of the defenders, it would pass through a figure, so that defender would have cover. And sometimes I'm not too thrilled with the line of sight rules. For instance, here, because you can trace line of sight along the borders of a blocking terrain, he would have line, even though this is a wall right here, this figure does have line of sight, because if he traces from the corner here to any of the corners of this imp, he does have line of sight to it, and the imp has no cover. Now, even though the imp also does have line of sight to this marine, the marine would have cover, because when he tries to trace to every corner in the marine's box, that would pass through a wall. So that would give the marine cover from this imp, but the imp would not have cover from the marine, and they both have line of sight to each other, which, I don't know, seems a little sketchy to me, but anyway, that's the rules. I also did want to mention that, I said when you play an action or a bonus card and it gives you a speed, that's the movement number of spaces you can move. You don't have to move. You can move up to those number of spaces, but you don't have to move that full amount of spaces. Let's talk about a few other things with movement with the Marines. These items are health packs. If a Marine moves onto a health pack, he removes it from the map and he recovers 5 damage points. So if he had, or up to 5, if he had 6 damage points, he could recover 5, or if he had 3, he would recover all of it. So again, if a Marine moves onto a health pack, they remove it from the map and then they recover up to 5 health. There's some weapons that are on the map. If a Marine moves on top of one of those weapon spaces, then he gets to find the weapons that go along with they take that weapon token and put it in their play area. Then they find the action deck. Get the action deck, take the 3 cards that go along with that new weapon that they just found. So, for instance, this is the chainsaw. You can see that matches the icon on the bottom of chainsaw cards. So they would take the 3 cards that go with chainsaw, shuffle them up, and then put them on the top of their action deck, their draw deck. If a Marine steps on top of a inactive teleporter, it immediately becomes active. And then active teleporters are considered adjacent, so you could move 1, 2 if that teleporter was active. And although demons cannot use teleporters, a demon can occupy a space with a teleporter, and if a Marine moves from a teleporter to another teleporter that is occupied by a demon, that demon is immediately fragged. So I think I've covered pretty much what happens on a Marine's turn when they play their action and bonus cards and stuff. They play them into their play area. Once they're done taking all the uh, actions they're going to take, they then go ahead and move their cards they played from their play area into their discard pile. So if we had some cards here that were already in our discard pile, and then the Marine was playing cards for his main action and his bonus actions for his current activation, those cards are not considered currently in his discard pile. So if he ran out of cards and needed to draw a card like for a defense or something, he would shuffle his discard pile, but not the cards that he's playing that are in his play area for this turn that he's used for his current activation. Now, at the end of a Marine's turn, they take all the cards they played into their play area and put them into their discard pile. And again, whenever a Marine has to draw a card and their draw deck is empty, then they shuffle their discard pile and form their new deck and draw a card then. Alright, so now we'll talk about after, we'll say Marine finished their activation. Once a Marine finishes their activation, then the next invader card, or the next initiative card would be drawn. In this case, it's an invader. So now the invader player would get to choose one of their currently active demons that their cards are still face up. So maybe they want to choose the imp demons. They then turn that card sideways, exhausting it, but then they can activate each demon of that type. So for instance, if he chose to activate his imps, he exhausts his imps, and then each imp he has on the board, he can choose the order he wants to activate them, and they would all get a speed 4. They would have this attack with a range 4, and if he wants to spend an Argent token, then they could use this power, which before performing an attack they could add 2 range and 1 red die to that attack. So, and of course that's per imp, so even though he's got 4 imps on the board that he's going to be able to activate, he only has 2 Argent tokens, so he would only be able to spend those for 2 of the imps. The other 2 would not be able to use that. So, but for example, if he did this, he's activating the imp, so he could move. They get a speed of 4, so he can move 1, 2, 3, 4, and then have this imp, attack. It has line of sight to either one Alpha or Bravo, so he could do an attack where he would roll 2 red dice, and if he wanted to, he could spend an Argent token and do this before performing the attack, add 2 range and add another, so he could roll 3 red dice. And then after he moved that one, then he could do this one and this one and this one. So you can activate all demons of that type, have them move and attack or whatever the power is on their demon card. Once you've activated all the demons of that type, then that demon or invader turn is over. And again, don't forget that the invader player could play some of his event cards to add bonuses to whatever he's doing, like play this card while a demon is attacking, re-roll any number of dice. So the invader player has those event cards that he can play on the turn of his demon. So then you would, after all the imps had activated, then you'd draw the next card. Oh, it's the invaders again. So now, because the imps have already been activated, his only choice now is to activate the Revenant, because you can't, once a card is exhausted, a demon card is exhausted, you can't activate that same demon type again. So his only choice in this case, since the only other active type he had is the Revenant. So then the Revenant here has a speed of 5, so it can move up to 5 spaces. and it has an attack with a range of 6, and it rolls 2 red and 1 black dice. You'll also see that the Revenant is a flying enemy, so he gets to ignore any blocking terrain, or he doesn't have to spend extra movement to move through other enemy figures. So he can't fly through walls or doors, but he could fly over this blocking terrain or this impassable terrain. um, I guess he's flying because he's got a back a jet backpack or something like that. But and of course he would keep this objective token with him, because that's we assigned that to that Revenant when he was summoned. And since there's only one Revenant on the board, as soon as he was activated and did his movement and attack, then that invader turn would be over. And then we would reveal the last initiative card, which would be Bravo, and then he would, take his actions. And then that would end the activation phase, because there's no more initiative cards. And then that would end the round, and we'd go back to the status phase. Now, if if during that round all the imps had been eliminated, once all the demons of a type are eliminated, you turn that card back face down again. And then when you go back to the status phase and you're preparing your initiative deck, you would remove one of those invader cards from the initiative deck, since there's only one invader type left. All right, let's talk about if a Marine does, take enough damage where he's fragged, then he's removed from the board and put back on his Marine card. Any wound damage tokens he have are then removed and put back in the supply. He keeps any cards, glory kill cards, or anything that he has. The only thing he'll lose is his damage tokens. The invader player will then gain 1 frag token. Remember, for this objective, they're trying to gain 6 frag tokens, so they would have to kill the Marines 6 times. But then at the beginning of that Marine's next turn, so when his initiative card is drawn the next time, so he comes up, then he gets to come back on the board on any active teleporter. So if this one was active, he could come back there, or he could come back here, and then he gets to take his turn as normal, playing an action and bonus, etc. And so you just continue playing rounds like that until one side meets their objective. In this one, the Marines, they need to gain all the objective tokens. So when a demon that is carrying an objective token, or that has the objective token, is killed, that objective token stays in the space where they were fragged at. And then if a Marine moves into that space, he can pick it up and he can put it on his card. If that Marine is ever killed, then he drops them in the space where he was, and another Marine will have to go and pick it up again. But once the Marines are able to, in this mission, collect all 3 objective tokens, then they win the mission. But if before that happens, the invaders manage to get 6 frag tokens by killing the Marines 6 times, then they win the game. Or at least they win this mission. Then if you were playing in a whole operation, then you'd move on to the next mission. But if you were just playing one mission, then whichever side won that mission would win. One other thing I forgot to mention, when a Marine is fragged, as I said, their figures move back onto their Marine card. What I forgot to mention is you will also shuffle their deck. Everything in their discard pile and their hand will go back into their action pile. You shuffle their deck, and then they draw back up to their hand size again. And then, as I said, the next time their initiative card comes up, they can go onto the board on any active portal. There are some other tokens that I don't think are used in this mission, threat tokens and progress tokens, and those are mission dependent. I think one other thing that may be used in this mission we didn't talk about is it may be possible that a Marine or a demon can be stunned. If a Marine gets stunned, you give them one of these stun cards, and it just tells what the effects are. While defending, you do not reveal any cards for defense. Before rolling any dice for an attack, choose and remove one die. And after you perform an attack or after a hostile figure attacks you, then you discard this condition. And the demons can become stunned also, and if they do, you just put a stun token near the figure that is stunned, and they have these same effects applied to them. And I think for the most part, that covers the rules for this game. So what I'm going to do is, I think I was kind of all over the place explaining the rules for this, so it might have been a bit confusing. So I think if you watch some example turns, it will make a little more sense. So let me get everything set back up to how I had it right after I finish the setup portion of this video, and then we'll play through a few example turns. Alright, I think I've got everything set back up to it was right after we did setup. Remember, as part of setup, that these demons were spawned here on the map. And so now we go to the status phase, where we'll prepare the initiative deck. So we'll get 2 invader cards, since we got 2 types of invaders, imps and revenants. And we'll also get the Alpha and Bravo Marine cards and shuffle those up. So let me do that off camera. Alright, there I've got my initiative deck. My demons are readied. And so next thing we'll draw the event cards for the invader, 6 cards. Alright, 6 cards, and then he can look at those and decide if he wants to discard any of those to get Argent tokens. I forgot, I should have had those Argent tokens already from when I spawned. Alright, let me look and see what he's got, see if he wants to discard any of these to get Argent tokens. I think he'll discard this one, and he'll get one Argent token and put it on that Revenant, and he'll discard this one and get another one and put it on this Imp card. Alright, he's going to keep the rest. Alright, that's going to end the status phase. Now we go to the activation phase. So the first thing we do is reveal the first initiative card. It's an invader card, so now the invader will choose one type of demon he wants to activate. He's going to activate, so he'll exhaust the imps, and he's going to activate the imps. So they have a speed of 4 and an attack range of 4, and they roll 2 red dice. And of course they can also do this Argent power. So I think kind of as we showed in our example, he's going to move this one 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he's going to attack Alpha. And he will spend an Argent token. He doesn't need to add anything to his range, but he does get to add a red die. So it's normally 2 red die, and he gets to add a red die. So he's going to roll 3. Alright, so he got 4. So now Alpha does a defense. So he will flip the top card. He blocks 2. He's got 2 shields, so he's got to take 2 damage. So we'll take 2 damage tokens and put them on his Marine card. Alright, we'll activate another Imp. 1, 2, 3. He's going to attack Alpha as well. He has a line of sight, obviously. No cover, because he can trace to every corner of Alpha's box without going over blocking terrain or another figure or wall or anything like that. So no cover. He's going to make the same attack, so he's going to also spend an Argent token so he can roll that extra red die. He got 4 as well. We'll see. Alpha's going to make a defense. He only blocks 1, so he's got to take 3 damage. So he is at 5 damage already. Alright, we got a couple of other imps we can activate. 1, 2, 3, 4. And put this guy back standing up. And now, if he wants to target Alpha, he can, because he has line of sight, from this corner to this corner. It does pass through a figure, so he probably will end up having cover, but he also has range. 1, 2, 3, 4, so he definitely has range. Remember, the range of this attack is 4. But he's also going to use an Argent token, which increases his range by 2, so he would definitely be in range, and adds the red die. So he's going to attack Alpha as well. Now, Alpha will have cover, because if he's targeting from here, his when he traces to every box with Alpha, it definitely passes through another figure, so Alpha will have cover. So we'll see what happens with our roll. He gets 4. So Alpha's going to do a defense. 2, he'll just accept that, so he's got to take 2 more damage. Well, let me get these. Alright. So he's at 7. Remember, he can take 12, the 10 that he normally has, but he has +2 health for this squad card. And we have one more imp to activate. Well, and this guy, after his attack, he's going to do his power where after you perform an attack, gain 2 movement points. He's going to go ahead and move 2 more forward. And now this last guy will move. So he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's within range of Alpha. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he definitely is in range. Alpha will get cover. He can't. There's no more Argent tokens, so he can't do. He won't get that extra die. So he's only going to get to roll 2 dice. But he got 4 again. Alpha does have cover, so he, may draw a second card, but he's not going to. He blocks 2, so he's got to take 2 more damage. We'll just put 1 back and get a 3. So he's getting a lot of damage. He's up to 9 now. But that is all the imps on the board, so no more imps to move. So now we go ahead and draw on our next invader card, or our next, invader again. That's bad luck. Alright, so now the Revenant can move, can activate, so we'll activate the Revenant. He's got a speed of 5, and he's flying. And during his activation, he can perform an additional attack. And he has this, before rolling any dice for an attack, look at the top 3 cards of the defender's deck, place one of those cards on the top, and discard the rest. Alright, so he's going to move 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got to bring this objective token with him. Alright, and he's going to spend one of his Argent tokens to do his homing rockets. So before rolling any dice, he's going to look at the top 3 cards of the defender's deck and place one on top and discard the rest. So 1, 2, there's only 2, so now we got to shuffle this discard deck. Alright, so I shuffled it, so he's going to look at these top. He's going to put this one on the top, and he will discard these 2. Okay, and now he will make his attack, and he's going to attack Alpha. And, of course, he does have line of sight, but it will provide cover because it's going to pass through another figure, so Alpha will have cover. Now he gets 2 red and a black. So we're going to roll. So he got 6, so Alpha's going to flip. He's only got 1. He's going to use his cover so he can draw a second one, but then he has to take whatever it is, 2. So he's got to take 4 damage. So that's going to put him over his 12 health. So he's been fragged. So we'll just discard all the health tokens. He's going to go onto his card. We got to shuffle up his hand and discard pile. Alright, now he's going to draw back up to his hand size after we shuffled 2. Remember, his hand size is 4. It's normally 3, but plus 1 because of that squad card. And now the demons get 1 frag token because they fragged a marine, and so they just need 5 more to complete their goal. Alright, but that's all the revenants we have on the board, so there's nothing else for the revenants to do. So we now draw a new initiative card. That is Alpha. So he's currently off the board. He can come on the board on any active portal token. The only one is this one. So that's where he will come on. Alright, so here's his hand of cards. He's going to play for his main action, the shotgun maneuver. Gives him a speed of 4 and a range of 4. And he rolls a red and a black. He's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 and move on to this. Well, he doesn't need that health pack because he just revived. So we'll just say he's just going to move 2. He'll move 2. And then he's going to do his attack. So he rolls a red and a black. He's going to target this imp. So he rolls a 1. So that's pretty pitiful. Let's see with it. Now the invader gets to defend, so he blocks it. He's going to play. Well, he has this. After you resolve this card, you may play another combat shotgun, treating it as speed 0. He does have another combat shotgun, although he would have got to play that anyway because during his turn he can perform 2 main actions. So he would have got to play that anyway, but he's going to go ahead and play it. So he's not going to move. He's just going to roll a red and a black again, targeting this imp. Alright, this time he got 4. However, the invader is going to play this card while a demon is defending. Add 1 special symbol. Well, before we do that, we'll go ahead and have him defend. Well, he got the special symbol anyway, so he's not going to play that card. So he got that special symbol, which for the imp is they dodge, so they avoid all hits. So he gets no hits. So again, that's not good for the Marines. But Alpha is going to go ahead and play this bonus action, which is a quick shot, which gives him a range of 4, 2 red dice. So he's going to target that same imp. And unfortunately, he only got 2 hits. The imp will defend. He blocks 1, so he's going to take 1 damage. Alright, Alpha doesn't have any more bonus actions. The only thing he has left is this armor. So he'll just keep that, and now he'll draw back up to his hand size, which is 4. So that's 2, 3, 4. Alright, that's going to end Alpha's activation, and now we know the last invader card, or the last initiative card is going to be Bravo, so he'll take his turn. Alright, he's going to play Rapid Fire, which gives him a speed of 3, a range of 5. After you perform this attack, you may discard 1 plasma rifle card. If you do, the defender becomes stunned. Alright, he is going to... he gets a red and a black. He's going to attack this imp right in front of him. He's got a range of 5, and that's only 2, so he easily got that. Alright, terrible roll. 2. The imp will defend. He got the special, so we know that's a dodge, so he gets no damage. Things are not going too well for the Marines here. Alright, he can perform 2 actions, remember, 2 main actions. So he's going to play another main action card, another same card, plasma rifle. And so again, he'll just roll a black and a red. And he got 3. So the imp is gonna take 2 or block 2, so he'll only get 1 damage, and he was shooting at this one. He probably should have shot at that already wounded one. Alright, let's see if he has any bonus actions. He's just got this reposition, which lets him move 3. I don't think he's going to use that at this time. So he's done, so he's just going to draw 2 cards. And so that's going to end this round because there's no more initiative cards. Everybody's had their turn. This is not going well for the Marines so far, which is unusual. I just played this same mission yesterday, and the Marines pretty much kicked butt. But anyway, alright, so we in the activation phase, we go back to the status phase, so we prepare the initiative deck. All the same invaders and Marines are still on the board, so I'll just shuffle up this deck. Alright, that deck is shuffled. We then ready our demons, so we turn our demons cards back the way they should be. Draw back up to 6 event cards. He's still got 4, so he'll draw 2, and then he can discard some to get Argent tokens, which I think he'll do. He's going to discard these 2 to get 2 Argent tokens, and he'll put them both on the imp. And that is the end of the status phase, and now we go to the activation phase again. Alright, so we flip the top initiative card. It's an invader, so again he will activate the imps, and he's going to activate this imp first. He'll go ahead and have him use an Argent token so he can roll 3 red dice, and since Alpha's right there, he's going to have him attack Alpha. So he's going to roll 3. He only got 2. He's going to play this event card. Play this card while a demon is attacking. Reroll any number of dice. He'll roll 1 that got a blank and 1 that got a single. And that one got a 2, and that one still got a blank. So he got 3. Alright, so Alpha's going to defend. He didn't get any, but he does have this card in his hand, armor. While defending, you may play this card to add 2, and then draw 1 action card. So he will block 2 of it, draw this back into his hand. So he just takes 1 damage. So we'll put that on his card. Alright, now the invader player is going to activate another demon. He'll use this one to again attack Alpha, and he will spend a last Argent token on there so he can roll 3 red dice. And he got a 4. He'll keep that. Alpha will defend. He'll block 2, so he'll take 2 damage. So we'll just put a 3 and remove this 1. Alright. Alright, we'll activate this imp. He's going to attack Alpha as well. Now this time, let's see if Alpha has cover. If he's attacking from here. No, it doesn't cross through any other figures, so Alpha doesn't have cover. Though he doesn't have an Argent token, so he's just going to get to roll his 2 red dice. So he got a 2. Now Alpha has to defend. All his cards are in his discard pile, so we got to shuffle that up first. Alright, that's shuffled. He blocks 2, so takes no damage from that. There's 1 more imp that can activate this one. He's going to move. He'll move 1, 2, 3. And just to do something different, he'll attack Alpha so he can easily get to one of his squares. Now, no, Alpha will not get cover because that's traced along the side of a wall, not through one. So, alright, he's going to roll 2 red dice. 2, or he's attacking Bravo, sorry. He should be in the discard pile for Bravo. Bravo blocks 1, so he'll take 1 damage. Alright, there we go. Alright, that's all the imps have activated, so now we're going to reveal the next initiative card. Are you kidding me? What bad luck. I keep shuffling the invaders, taking both their turns in a row. Alright, so now the Revenant's going to attack. He's not going to move. Well, yes he will. He has a speed of 5. And remember, he's flying, so he can move through figures without spending extra. So he's going to move, 1, 2, 3 and land right here. That way, whichever Alpha or Bravo that he attacks will not get any cover. Alright, we'll have him attack Alpha. He's going to get 2 red dice and a black dice. Oh, that was a terrible roll. Let's see what cards he's got. Yeah, he's got another one that lets him re-roll any number of dice, so he'll discard that. And he will re-roll all of these. Well, still not too good. 3. Alpha will block none, so he's got to take 3 more damage. And then, the Revenant, don't forget he has this. During your activation, you may perform 1 additional attack. So he's going to attack Alpha again. And this time he got 5. So Alpha will defend. He'll block 2, so he's got to take 3 more damage. So he's up to 9 damage. But that's going to end the Revenant's turn. So now it will be Alpha's turn. So he's going to play this up close and personal super shotgun. It gives him a speed of 4. So first of all, he's going to spend 2 to move into the space with this imp, which is going to glory kill him because he has 1 damage already, which is his stagger value. So he's going to move in there. That's going to use 2 of his movement. That's going to kill him. And now he'll get to draw a glory kill card because he glory killed that imp. So he gets to recover 2 damage. So this goes down to a 1. And then this lets him, for a bonus action, discard this card to draw 2 action cards. But remember, he only spent 2 of his movement. He played a card for 4 movement, so now he's going to spend the other 2 movement to move into where this imp is staggered and kill him as well. Glory kill him as well. So now he gets to draw another glory kill card, which is going to recover 2 more damage for him. So we'll tune that down to a 1. And that one, while attacking, you may discard this card to re-roll any number of die. Alright, now he still gets to make an attack. Range of 3, 1 black, or 1 red and 2 black. So he's going to attack this imp that's directly in front of him. So 5. The imp will defend. None. But I think we have this one. If Invader can play this. Play this card when a demon is defending. Add 1, that special symbol. Let's let him dodge so he actually misses all of that damage, misses him. But this did have this power. After you perform this attack, you may roll 1 red die and choose 1 figure adjacent to the defender space. That figure suffers 1 damage. For each hit rolled. So he's going to choose this figure that's adjacent. So he's going to suffer 2 damage. So we'll put that 2 damage on him. And now he's going to play this bonus action, reposition, which gives him a speed of 3. So he's going to move to where this imp is, which he's staggered because he's got 2 damage on him. So that's going to glory kill him. So he gets to draw another glory card. That's going to recover 2 more damage from him. Let's see, that one lets him discard this card to draw 2 action cards. And he's only played 1 main action so far. And remember, because we have these squad cards, he can perform 2 main actions. So he's going to perform another up close and personal main action, which gives him a speed of 4. He's going to use 1 of those speed to move on top of this health pack, which lets him recover 5. He's only got 3, but now he's fully healed. and he can make an attack. So he's going to attack this imp again. 2 black and 1 red die. See, so 5 damage. The imp gets to defend. He blocks 2. He's still going to take 3 damage, which that's his health. So he's dead. So we're making up for what happened before now. And then he's going to do... No, he'll save this quick shot. Alright, so he's going to end his turn. So now he draws back up to his hand size of 4. And then these are all in the discard pile now. Alright, and then we know it's Bravo's turn now, so he gets to play a main action. He's only got 1 main action. It's this one, Stun Bomb. So after you perform this attack, choose 1 figure adjacent to the defender space. Well, there isn't any figure adjacent to the defender. So unfortunately, even though he's got a speed 4, well, we'll have him move 1, 2, and this has a range of 4, but it's only 1 black dice. Yeah, just 1 damage. And I'm sure that's going to be blocked, yes. But he's got this bonus action of Quick Shot, which lets him do 2 red dice at a range of 4. So he's going to shoot again at the Revenant. And 2. And the Revenant blocks both of those. And unfortunately, he doesn't really have anything else he can play, so that's going to end his activation, so he'll draw his last 2 cards. So his hand size is 5, remember, because it's the normal 3 plus 1 plus 1. So he's going to draw back up to 5. We'll have to shuffle up his discard pile. So he'll have a new draw deck, but that will end our activation phase, and then we go back to the status phase. But I think we've shown enough. This video's getting pretty long. You can see how the game plays, how the initiative deck works, and you draw cards, and then the players take turns depending on what initiative card was drawn from the deck, and how the Marines take their turns, and how the Demons take their turns. So you should have a pretty good idea. If the Marines kill this Revenant, of course, then he'll drop that objective token, and then one of them will have to move into that space and pick it up. And so they've got to... Now, if they open, in this mission, if they open this door, then these 2 portals will spawn. And then if they open any one of these doors, according to what the infestation card says, any portal that you can trace a uninterrupted line to, it doesn't go through a wall or a door. So then these 3 portals will spawn once somebody opens one of these doors. So, I mean, it looks like the Marines are doing pretty well right now, but once they get in to these others, more demons are going to spawn. And this one is a red one, so when they open that door, they can get a Baron of Hell, which is, one of these guys, so they're not a pushover. Or they could get and 4 imps, or they could get 3 imps and 2 revenants. So I will say this mission, the Marines win it most of the time, but it's still pretty fun. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I like this game. It's pretty fun. Now, as I said, I've never played a whole operation. That would take, pretty much a whole day, I think. But I like to just play a one-off mission here and there. So, that's it. I think this game is pretty fun. I don't know if it can be bought anymore. Like I said, I think it came out in 2016, and I'm not sure it can still be purchased, but I would recommend it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.